Good morning, everybody, and here we go. One, two. Good morning, everybody. And that was played on my little pocket trumpet. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, everybody knows the name of that song. It's Jingle Bells. Let me put my horn away. And I'm going to give you a little information that I'll bet nobody out there knows unless you look this up, because I didn't know it. Of course, I'm not saying I'm the smartest guy in the world, but here, that was written in October, excuse me, it was written in 1857 by James Lord Pierpont, Perpont. I may be murdering that name, but that's the name of the guy, James Lord Pierpont. Now, he originally wrote that and called it in a the one horse open sleigh. That's how it was copyrighted originally. And actually, it was written not as a Christmas song, but as a song to be played on Thanksgiving. So there's a little bit of trivia for you, and it's a wonderful song, and of course, everybody knows it. Now look at that, 1857, that's about 150 years old, and it still sounds good. What a brilliant guy. So that was your song for today and your little trivia. And as I say, it's the only show on TV or on the internet where you come on to hear an interview and the host plays a song, sometimes on a 100-year-old cornet, but that pocket trumpet was invented in 1857, and that's unusual. It has a great little sound. Anyway, it's the only place on the internet or TV where you're going to find the host comes on and plays a song and gives you some trivia and then goes into an interview with some brilliant people who know really what they're talking about, and you're very you'll be well informed and enlightened at the end of every one of these shows. That show that I've given that long introduction for is this one. It's called Life After Scientology, and I am Ron Miscavige, and I am your host. So good morning to everybody, and welcome to the show. And today we have on one of your favorite guests and one of my favorite guests, and not just because she's good looking, but she knows what the hell she's talking about, and she has walked the walk and done all the hard knocks, received all the hard knocks and bruises, and come out of it a very successful person, incredibly successful business, and always has a great take on these subjects that we bring up. So this morning, I want to say good morning to you, Karen de la Carriere, and I'm happy to have you back, honey.
Hello. Hi, everybody.
Okay, and this morning, look, do you remember Pinocchio? Pinocchio, if he told a lie, his nose would grow. Let me tell you something. If everybody in the Scientology management had that spell on them, their noses would be about 4 miles long. They wouldn't be able to goddamn move because their stock in trade is lying. If they open their mouth, they lie. Now, the nice thing about this, if you're them, from their viewpoint, is when they tell a lie, like their expansion, how are you going to prove otherwise? What would you do? Okay, you could go to different orgs or these places where they build new and they have openings and they have a brand new facility, and you're going to go in there and you're going to find air. You're not going to find people. But if you have a job and you're productive, you just don't have the time to do that. So kind of, I guess in their minds, that's why they feel they can tell these atrocious lies and get away with it and nobody's going to challenge them. Well, I'll tell you what. Karen is going to challenge them today. So here you go, Karen. And we can start off with about their stats, how they lie up. Anyway, you just take it over. You know what you want to say, and go ahead.
Ron, lying, lying is a central principle of the cult of Scientology.
Yep.
It's an actual principle within the word lie was changed in definition to acceptable truth.
Yeah.
They actually had the word truth, the word
I
flipped
know.
from
Yeah.
or white lies, and acceptable truth, where you were given a wink and a nod by internally meant if you're protecting the. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I just thought of something, and this is in I think the either a technical volume or Scientology dictionary. A lie is saying that something moved when it didn't move, or saying that something didn't move when it moved.
Yes.
So there is the whitewashed version of a lie. Oh boy, I'm a liar. Gee, I know how to tell you that a particle moved and it didn't. That's all I'm doing. It doesn't harm anybody. Okay. Anyway, I wanted to interject that. Go on.
Yeah, which is why we all know it's not sustainable. Something that just lies, lies, lies. Can't fool all of the people all of the time. But we were in a total of 82 years, right? I was in 40 years, you were in 42 years,
Yep.
and we swallowed it.
Yeah, we
We
did.
truly believed that it's the greatest good to lie
Yeah.
if you're protecting the cult.
Yep.
So the cult is a pathological liar.
Yeah.
They lie about their statistics. Imagine claiming 10 million members worldwide. Imagine claiming that they dropped the crime rate of Colombia by 50% by distributing little booklets.
Yep.
It's in their glossy magazines. More recently, they claimed that they distributed 52,000 way to happiness booklets in the Paris area, and half these booklets were in Arabic and French, and again, the crime rate dropped 23%. You see, they lie even when they don't need to lie.
Yeah.
It's just a way of life, but it's usually to fluff themselves out and make themselves look greater
Yeah.
than they are.
Yeah.
The biggest lie of all is come on in and join us, and you will be free. We will give you freedom. Freedom from your case, freedom from your baggage, freedom from your aberrations, your where you're screwed. We'll make you free from those issues you're so screwed up in. Actually, when you walk in the door, you are trapped.
Yeah.
Trapped. You sign 4 unconscionable contracts. Really thick. You sign away your life that you can't even ever sue. Ron, there are 6 girls who come forward on Danny Masterton's rapes. They took away the 3 that were in Scientology. They're now saying, you can't sue. You have to use our internal justice system because you signed those contracts. So as you walk in the door, your freedom, your civil rights, your constitutional rights are completely taken away.
Yeah.
And they call that freedom. Do you see how
Well,
it's...
Karen, I know what you're talking about. Listen, on the way here, on the way to the studio, I was talking to my son, and not David, and we were talking about how we got in, how we both believed that we're literally helping mankind, and what we were doing was going to change everybody's condition in life for the better on this planet. And you come in, you want to help. First of all, you want to get yourself helped. But when you see that some of these early things you do have value, I must say that, and I won't change my mind on it because it's true. They have value, but that's the hook. And then you are given information that you don't know is true and you doubt it, but that you say, oh, well, I'll accept it because the first part was good. And then next thing you know it, you have all these things that you've accepted without examining whether they're true or not, and you've built your own mental prison, and you don't want to harm this entity that's going to help everybody, which is the fattest lie you could tell. They're not helping people the way they say they are. They're accumulating a lot of money. And of course, I don't know how much they're accumulating now with new people, but they have what they call whales who give millions of dollars, and they lie to them in order so they'd keep on giving millions of dollars. They lie about expansion and about what the things you've been talking about, Karen. Anyway, I just wanted to give my 2 cents on that.
No, no, that's good. Another, do you think people walk in the door and are told if you're raped, you could never sue and you can never use the courts to get justice?
There's not a chance that they would be told that. But that, in fact, is what's happening right now, as you just pointed out.
Right now, on the Danny Masterton case. They're not allowed to sue, and they're challenging, well, you signed the... So it's entrapment. Scientology is a trap. It's an absolute trap. Another flagrant lie is the results they claim you will attain. They will have you believe that if you have some special high-level auditing called ELS, I used to be an ELS auditor in CS, that you could literally, how do I put this so everyone will understand? It's called exterior with full perception. What it means is you will leave your body and have every perceptic, smell, sight, touch, far away, like a satellite. You could be above Earth, traveling around with all this visio, flying like a Peter Pan with wings. They actually promise this kind of result.
I think people would know that as remote viewing.
Absolute remote viewing.
Yeah.
Absolute hogwash. So it's lie. They could simply say, look, we'll help you to communicate better. Well, they could be realistic, but they overpromise, and the actual result is shameful of their so-called OTs, these high-level OT7s and OT8s, because the expectation is that someone would be very enabled, somebody would be very much, have a lot of enlightenment, wisdom, kindness, and not sick as a dog, dying off of cancer, and being like any other human being. Did you want to ask me something, Mark?
Did I want to ask you something? No, but I was just thinking that with these upper level completions like OT8, there's a lot of pretending that they do. And I mean, that is the stock and trade of a person at that level. They pretend to have these abilities, but then there was a statement that L. Ron Hubbard made on a lecture. It could have been in a lecture where he said, listen, don't go off reading the Rotogravure, in other words, the newspaper, in another country until you get more people up to this level, because you're not going to be able to handle it. So watch it. Don't start basically, he was saying, don't demonstrate these things yet. We're not ready for it. Do you remember that, Karen?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they now will use that as an excuse. They say, no, I don't want to do it because, as one guy, there was a door that was locked and we're trying to get in it, and I had a guy next to me who was OT8, and there was another person who said, oh, look, you're OT8, you can open that door. And he says, oh, no, I'm not going to do that because I did it one time and the person got sick. Oh, I'll never do it again. I mean, it's a complete bullshit story, but he says it with a great, very straight face, like he's looking out for the person in front of him, you know?
I think I've said this before on the show, but I personally know of 12 OT8s that had mental breakdowns, full-blown insanity.
Yeah.
Detached from reality, like full-blown, not just some hissy fit, full-blown insanity immediately after doing OTA. So
Wow.
there you go. Another lie, which is a couple of stories I want to engage with you in, is the lie that Scientology can cure you of being gay. And that's the story of Michael Pattinson. Michael Pattinson, what a sweetheart. What did I do with my... here. Michael Pattinson. Am I holding that up correctly?
Yeah. Sean, is that right?
Can you
Yes.
see it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, you can.
The older Michael Pattinson. Michael was quite an artist,
Well, he was a great artist, actually,
great artist.
because.
And he
Oh,
wanted to open his own artists association in Paris. Michael Pattinson. And lo and behold, a turf war occurred between Sarit Rosenberg, who is the president of Celebrity Center Paris. She wanted Celebrity Center to have this artist association. And Michael did not want it under the ropes and domain and domination of the church.
oh, Karen,
So
let me ask you a question right at this point, because who was Sarit's husband? Did he have anything to do with?
Alain Rosenberg.
He
He's
also was in the Celebrity Center, wasn't he?
Yeah, they were husband and wife team.
What
They
what
were
was
both.
what was his post? Do you remember?
Oh, it was. I believe he was executive director and she was president,
Okay, yeah, but
something like that.
okay. I mean, I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but I know there was a husband and wife team, and
Yeah,
it was her husband. All right, and
yeah.
that cleared it up for me anyway.
Alan is gone from Scientology. Sarit, maybe. I'm not even sure about that, but and they went to warfare with Michael, who had been pouring in huge sums of money. They made Michael believe that his gay lifestyle was bad, that it was evil. They made him ashamed of it. And then when this warfare started, they threatened that they would cancel all his... In Scientology, you do levels. It's level by level, and you get a certificate saying you've achieved that, you've done that. They were going to just cancel his certs. Ron, this is an interesting point. Give me your own input. A certificate and what you attain in Scientology is only leased to you because it can be revoked at any time, correct?
That is correct. But let me just give you my take on this, okay? And this is very clever on their part. I mean, I must give them that credit. As far as a con is concerned, I don't know if this isn't the most clever con or scam that's ever been run on planet Earth, because they lead you to believe, and then you are brainwashed into thinking that that certificate is the authenticity of your being able to do that. So that if they then say we're going to take that away, in some convoluted type of thinking, you think they're taking away that ability that you gained from that certificate. Do you follow me? It's a small point I'm making here, but I think a fairly valid one, because otherwise, look, if I was able to bench press 300 pounds and I got a certificate, and then somebody said, well, if you don't follow the rules of this weightlifting club, we're going to take your certificate away. I said, good, stick it up your butt. What the hell do I care? I can still bench press 300 pounds. Now, that's because that's a fairly sane retort to some threat of that type. But when you're of a state of mind that you've worked your butt off to learn all these drills on the levels, and you become what they call a class 4 auditor, then you're given a certificate. That then, I swear to God, there's this type of thinking going on, is the authenticity of your ability to do it. And if they were to take that away, somehow they take that ability away from you. Does that make sense or no?
Yes, it does. It does. It does. For example, your test clear.
Yeah.
And then when you're declared suppressive person, it says all certs and awards are canceled. So, I mean, so suddenly they can unclear you or non-clear you. It's all there.
Yeah.
No. But the point is, everything you get in Scientology can be jerked, leased, and canceled in a New York second. But the money's gone. Everything you paid to do all that, that's gone with the wind. It's gone with the wind.
And if you think they're going to say, well, we're canceling it, so we're giving you your money back, you also will believe that pelicans actually can fly at 3,000 feet above sea level, you know?
Yeah.
It just isn't going to happen. But what we're describing here is a very clever scheme to keep you under control, isn't it, Karen?
It really is. It really is. You never find out any of this in early days when you first come in.
Yeah.
I mean, you're taught, I've said this before, that man is basically good. You're a good guy.
Yeah.
You have goodness in you. You may have done this and that, but you're good. And then at the tail end, when you finally just flee and escape, you've had enough, you find out, they write out how evil you were, and you're an antisocial personality, and you were evil. But they didn't know this while they took your money or your slave labor for the years that you were in. Now, getting back to the lying, they lie with impunity. They lied to the IRS.
Yeah.
The IRS was concerned that refunds weren't being given. No, we'll give refunds. Absolutely. When people ask, we refund them. Well, how is that working out? I'd like to ask any in the audience who have not as yet been able to get a refund. They lied to the US government that they gave refunds. So back to the original topic, which is lies. There's a billboard with electronic lights on Sunset Boulevard as hundreds of cars drive by. And they had these monumental figures, like 37 million people every 5 seconds is saved from drug addiction.
Yeah.
This is the kind of just astounding, nonsensical rubbish. But they literally, even the people that program all that, they know it's a lie.
Of course.
People that put the lies in these glossy magazines. So what is the lesson learned?
Well, wait, before you get into that, why don't we finish off with Michael Pattinson? Because there was an ending there that I want you to tell people about.
Yes. Michael Pattinson was constantly under a threat. The cult has in policy something called a non-intribulation order.
Yeah.
It comes out on a golden rod paper, and everybody gets it. And the threat is, if there's one more report of you, you will be declared a suppressive person. See, even that's just, look at the nonsense in that. Yeah. How can you be an antisocial personality and become evil based on one more report?
Yeah.
Hubbard devised all this. So Michael was then reordered to return to Free Winds. He was an OT8, and he had given them by now $500,000. And on Free Winds, he had to put on credit cards $1,500 a week for food and $8,500 for every 12 and a half hours of confessional. This was ordered. If he bucked this, he could be declared suppressive person.
Wow.
And he did try to protest. And he was locked in a cabin. You see, they believe they have the power of federal marshals. They can take you into custody and lock you down like in a jail. And Freeways, this so-called cruise ship, has been used as a prison for decades.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can't get off it just by saying, I want to leave. You will physically be stopped, and there's no two ways about it. First of all, they have your passport. So even if you were to sneak off, you'd have a hell of a time getting out of those Caribbean islands.
The cult takes away your passport as you arrive. If you're staff or Sea Oak, your passport is gone. Yeah. It's in possession. And I think this is partly done to prevent people escaping.
Of course it is.
Right.
Of course it is. And by the way, they take the public's passport too, not just staff.
They do?
Absolutely.
Yeah, on free ones they would. Yeah, on free ones.
On the free ones, yeah. If you go there, you turn in your passport.
Yeah. Anyway, Michael Pattinson passed. He was a very good activist. He joined a lot of us to tell the horror stories of what went on. And I'm very sorry to say that he left us. And I'd like to say, fly high, Michael, rest in peace, and good on you that on your last 12, 15 years on Earth, you were done with all of that. You became free.
Yeah.
Minus the cult.
Yep. And he didn't do this in vain, because now we're telling the story, and it's just another example of how the church will take your money and lie and not deliver what they promise and literally ruin your life, because they ruined his life to that degree. And thank God he just did get out, and then he lived that freedom for the last 12 years. So what's the lesson here, Karen?
You know, what boggles the mind is how a human being will believe anything.
Yeah.
In spite of the evidence in front of their nose. And you and I, Ron, you and I are poster childs of belief.
Well, I'll tell you something. You're led into that state of mind, though, and you get to that point where you believe all these things that they tell you. But thank God you and I and people like us will somehow say, wait a minute, what the hell am I doing here? Let me find out about this. This is tough to do, because if you spend all these years or all that money, for you to say, you know what, I was conned, that's a tough thing to do. And that's a credit to you and people like you. And of course, myself, I'll give myself credit for saying at one point, and of course, I had a friend who told me that, she's, Ronnie, we were conned. And that day that I looked in the mirror and looked at myself and said, Jesus Christ, I was conned. That was the beginning of the end, So that's the lesson. Don't join Scientology. Don't join a cult. Watch these programs. Get informed. Get enlightened. That's what I would say. How about you, Karen?
Yes, very much so. I'm sort of, I want to send Ronnie my love. Do you know he used to do cartwheels and somersaults on the grass at St. Hill, right outside my auditing room?
I know. Yeah,
I really love Ronnie. He's look, you got.
Well, let me tell you something. He's one of the most competent people I've ever met in my life. I will say that.
He says to you, we were conned.
I know.
Please have him. Please give him a hug for me.
I will do that.
Please,
Karen.
Please. Yeah.
Let's end this on a good note, because I think that's a good note. And
yeah.
I will say I thank you very much for coming on, and program is about how the Church of Scientology lies. So we've made a couple points that I hope somebody take us serious, because we are telling you the truth. There's nothing to be gained about us lying about what we're saying. So please don't join. And if you're in, just walk out. And if you like this program, I would say subscribe. And if you haven't, please do so and press the bell and get others to subscribe to it. And if you'd care to help out, you can become a Patreon just by going to my website, therealronmiscavige.com. That would be appreciated. But meanwhile, Karen, I got to thank you very much for coming on, and I'm certainly going to have you back because we have a lot more to talk about. And your insight is much appreciated by me and literally thousands of viewers who you're their favorite. And I got to say that. You're like the rock star of this program, you know?
Oh, it's okay. But, if recruiters and salespeople are a nice question to ask anyone if they're trying to lure you in is, hey, I heard that if I'm friends with so-and-so, or if I go to the internet to look up so-and-so, if I start watching Ron Miscavige's videos, I heard that I can be booted out, but you keep my money. Is that true or false?
That's the question.
It's a good question to ask. Thank you, everybody. Ron and I will be back. Bye-bye.
And thank you, Karen. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.